Time for round 1. I want the die roll. I'm going first and have a pretty slow hand, but great mana, a 3-drop, a 4-drop that also accelerates into the sip. So I don't think that's really something I can mulligan with the deck I've drafted, which is a bit clunky, which is a bit colorful, but hopefully things work out. I don't really have to worry about the first land I play. Didn't draft any double colored cards on 2. Top decking Voyaging Satyr here is absolutely great. And now it's already decision time. The Acolyte gives us a great mana advantage. The Bloodtor Harpy starts getting in for damage, both of which are quite important. Kind of like the fact that with the Acolyte in play, from then on, we can just cast everything we have. So I'm also not, yeah, I don't care about showing this mountain to my opponent. So this rams us into 7 mana next turn. So Sip of Hemlock is already an option, but more likely we'll just sit here and see what happens. I'm not gonna Sip of Hemlock the warrior. I want something to happen there first. But the warrior means that I'm not going to be able to attack here, except if I want to use Boon of Erebos just to kill the warrior. Wouldn't be the worst trade to make, to be honest. Problem is that I'm not blocking the warrior. That would just be really, really dangerous. On the other hand, I'm giving away a lot of information if I attack and hold up the boon. So yeah, what's going to be put on the Stone-Chanded Warrior? If it's an ordeal, it's going to trigger immediately, but I saw the green ordeal in the draft. But yeah, I mean that's actually pretty good. Can't really prevent it from triggering though. Yeah. I think I'll try to trade Boon of Erebos for Stone-Shrouded Warrior on offense here. And if that doesn't work, I've still dealt 2 damage. And I can't see myself ever blocking Stone-Shrouded Warrior should it attack next turn. I'm also getting the flyer into play. And I have Sip of Hemlock as a backup. What I could have done here was to hold up the mountain after casting the Harpy to show that I'm holding Titan Strength rather than Boon of Erebos. But I don't know if my opponent is going to pick up on that. The way I played it, I can still cast Boon of Erebos, which is definitely valuable as well. Yep, just an attack for 2. I'm going to take it, of course. And a pretty aggressive line by Mr. Attack for Value. Scries to the bottom, gets a 7/5, and puts me down to 12. Alright, so gets his card right back with Chronicler of Heroes. It looks like I'm forced to Sip of Hemlock the Stone-Shrouded Warrior here. I could tap the Acolyte to do that, but even though that would allow me to keep up Boon of Erebos, I wouldn't have the 1/4 blocker for the 3 power attacker that I'm facing. So let's hope this resolves and the Voyaging Satyr doesn't untap the Plains for God's Willing. That would have been an absolute blowout. But Titan Strength into Chronicler of Heroes was already pretty good, so don't think I needed to play around anything else from my opponent that turn. Voyaging Satyr, of course, not a great draw, but that the fact that this deck was susceptible to flooding was pretty clear from the beginning. I also didn't draw any Traveler's Amulets yet, so there's still 11 lands, 2 Traveler's Amulets in the deck to draw. Alright, we dealt 2 here, and I could drop Voyaging Satyr, but I want to have the option of blocking Chronicler of Heroes here. No reason to take 3 damage just to get our 1/2 onto the board. It's possible that white is the splash color here. Let's see what's going to happen. Okay. 6 drop coming down. Hopefully it's not a fox. Couldn't beat that. Okay, that's also pretty bad for us. Bestow onto the 3/3, get a 5/5 first strike. Could block with the Acolyte just here, but jump blocking with the Voyaging Satyr looks a lot better. And going down to 7 should be fine. Okay, not a great draw. And here the Acolyte is just going to be used to deal an extra damage. I could actually attack with 3 creatures just to block, just to jump block, and then I might take an extra damage. So the question is if it's better for me to deal the extra point, or if it's more dangerous to take an extra damage from the Satyr. The thing is I'm on 7, so I can take one of these and one of these hits, which could mean that taking one from the Satyr isn't a very big deal. There's also always the chance that the Satyr just doesn't attack because my opponent has something good to play. On the other hand, that would be pretty bad for me either way. I also don't really want to take damage from this because I need to be able to cast Boon of Erebos. I'm going to play it aggressively because either I draw something good to get out of this situation, for example another Sip of Hemlock or the Keepsake Gorgon, and if I don't, then I need to raise this somehow, which could be possible by jump blocking and hitting with Blood Troll Harpy in the air. Alright, this is really bad for me. Yeah, I could Boon of Erebos, but it wouldn't accomplish anything, so I'm gonna let that resolve, but it is of course pretty much the worst case. I'll go down to 1 or 2. 1 it looks like. And now my Boon of Erebos is dead. And this is still there. Polish Crusher was a good draw. Don't know if it's going to be enough. If I tap 4 for Polish Crusher, this makes 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I can play this and Monstrous It, which looks pretty sweet. And if this deals damage to my opponent, then I can also kill the Spear Point Aureate. So what I need to decide now is whether I want to untap the mountain already. Maybe I should have already done that. No, I'll wait. There isn't too many cards to punish me, and I'm already on 1, so burn spells kill me anyway. Now my opponent should realize that I can turn the Polish Crusher monstrous, but we'll see what happens. I'm just gonna block with Polish Crusher here, or should I chump block with Voyaging Satyr? That's an interesting decision. So chump blocking with Voyaging Satyr does lose to a couple of cards, but it could also be a really nice play depending on what my opponent has. Divine Verdict I can't really beat, but With the Polish Crusher potentially just destroying the Spear Point Aureate, I could have a very legitimate way of winning this. I'm playing around burns. Well, I can't really play around burn spells because I'm on 1. I'm playing around pump spells as long as they don't also give trample, because then I'm dead anyway. So the question is, did my opponent realize that this is going to turn into a 7/7? I have to give my opponent enough credit to say that that was the case. So I'm gonna just block with Voyaging Satyr here and hope to draw another creature to block with. Let's see if that works. Alright, I stay on 1 life, and the turn gets passed, so I'm assuming it's Divine Verdict now. It makes the most sense to me that this would be Divine Verdict from my opponent. Nylea's Emissary looks pretty nice, +3/+3 in trample. Could put that on the Harpy and just attack with that only. Or with both, forcing my opponent to play the... Oh, well, that would probably kill me. Can't afford that. I'm definitely taking the Emissary here. It's better than the Cursor by miles, so that's a pretty easy decision. So I can't put Nylea's Emissary on Polish Crusher, but I could put it on Blood Troll Harpy, and then I'm forcing my opponent to play the Divine Verdict, should he have it, onto the Harpy. Alternatively, I can just attack with Polish Crusher and then that gets verdicted, but that seems a lot worse. So I'm gonna try this. Alright, no, I probably shouldn't do that. I just realized that if I play it that way, I need to tap Karametra's Acolyte, and that loses to an attack by Voyaging Satyr. So I need a new plan, and the plan still involves playing around Divine Verdict, and then maybe just playing this as a 3/3, which is still pretty nice. It's really sad that I don't have Boon of Erebus available. So just going to cast that instead. Now the question is again, does my opponent have Divine Verdict, have something else? Can he cast Divine Verdict plus something good? And now Polish Crusher has to step in here. Don't really see a way around that. Alright, it's not Divine Verdict. It's a lot worse now. This looks pretty awful. Feral Invocation on a 5/5 first strike to just kill my Crusher. Vulpine Goliath. Here we go. This turns into a 6/6 trample. This is only 6/5. So kind of need to block this with these two, chump block this, and then die to everything attacking. But who knows what my opponent is going to do. Oh, I can still double block this with the Goliath and Nylea's Emissary. So I'm not completely dead, but this Chronicler with the 2 auras on it is definitely giving me problems. Let's see what this attack does for us. My opponent doesn't have 10 mana yet, so it's not going to be Divine Verdict plus monstrous. So this definitely forced me to block with Vulpine Goliath and something else, obviously. So if there is, well, if there's another trick, for example, something killing the Goliath, then I probably want this dead. Blocking with Nylea's Emissary sounds pretty smart in that case. So, but that should be sufficient. Could have blocked with Karametra's Acolyte and Vulpine Goliath, just to make sure that my opponent was forced to monsterify, but it looks like this is just trading with Vulpine Goliath, which I'm fine with. Alright, Cavern Lampad is pretty nice. If I bestow this onto Nylea's Emissary, it doesn't really work because this is green with Intimidate, so it's just going to be blocked by Chronicler of Heroes. Opponent is on 8, I have Bloodtor Harpy, Intimidate it up, attack 2 times, chump blocking my opponent's creatures, and hope that's enough. That's the game plan, the new game plan. Alright, your turn. Hopefully only lands. We can even, well, we can't really beat Divine Verdict because it would still work on defense, but we aren't dead to it. Here I'm gonna try to keep the Emissary around because it's more likely to be lethal. Alright, we won this game. I didn't think that was going to happen. And Boon of Erebos also didn't do a very good impression there. Alright, that was fun. Cutthroat Maneuver might be the better card compared to Boon of Erebos, especially in this matchup. And other than that, yeah, my opponent just really built a large creature, which makes me want to bring in Fade into Antiquity. Didn't look like we were losing too much else, so having this as a nice answer to my opponent's main plan is something I would like. I'm gonna try the Cutthroat Maneuver maybe, and then Fade into Antiquity could replace Satyr Hedonist, which I'm not a big fan of anyway. Let's run it like this. Traveler's Amulet, Commune with the Gods, Xenagos. Yeah, I'm gonna keep that. We can get a mountain with the amulet. Oh, quick start by the opponent. Could also commune with the gods. That doesn't really seem better. I'm not gonna sack this on upkeep because I might draw a 2-drop that I want to play. Not the case here. Now, commune with the gods could find us a 3-drop to block with, and that's definitely more important than finding the mountain right now. Nessian Asp or Voyaging Satyr. Voyaging Satyr is a lot worse, but it's just, like I said, it's more important to preserve our life total at this stage. And Traveler's Amulet works quite nicely with a 2-drop next turn. We do get blown out a little bit by Feral Invocation, but I don't really see a way around that. And then I'm going to start blocking with the Xenagos token and play Keepsake Gorgon. Priest of Auroras? That's pretty wild. Could have sacked before drawing here, but probably not too important. Let's get the mountain, we need that for later. And I'm snap blocking the Satyr if my opponent allows it. Like I said, Feral Invocation is a problem, but there are so many tricks in the format that you just have to accept that sometimes you run into them. Okay, it's just a Lightning Strike, that's fine. And I'm already down to 10. So here, Xenagos does seem more powerful than Karametra's Acolyte. It could be dying if my opponent has another removal spell. That's the sad part of it. But well, Karametra's Acolyte looks pretty sweet as well. I like Xenagos better. It just has such a high upside, and to be honest, losing this to another trick also isn't the end of the world. With Keepsake Gorgon, coming down next turn. The upside of having Xenagos in play is just huge, and the downside of, well, losing the Acolyte but having Xenagos as a backup plan isn't too important. So this is a crucial turn. Priest of Eros, I don't really know. It's going to deal with Nayla's Emissary once my opponent finds a Plains, I suppose, but it seems like a really weird card to have against me. I know I killed him with Cavern Lampad, but that doesn't mean that Priest of Eros is what you want, what you need. Alright, no Titan Strength, hopefully. We'll see what happens. Xenagos being attacked, that's another advantage, of course, the fact that even if I'm losing it here, it will have generated some extra life points for me. It looks like it's surviving, and that would be absolutely great. Yeah, this looks good. And I'm just gonna make 2/2s to block with. Sometimes it's just that simple. Keepsake Gorgon, also a great blocker for Staunch-Hearted Warrior, and I know there is no Titan Strength in my opponent's hand, otherwise the Xenagos wouldn't be alive anymore. Perforos, God of the Forge, oh my god. So this was really weird. A Crown Crusader followed by Perforos is definitely not the right order to play these two cards. I'm very surprised about that. Okay, how am I losing this game? A stream of creatures is definitely a problem. Also maybe losing something to Priest of Eros, but that doesn't seem too bad. I could see suiting up this with Nylea's Emissary's help to just win this game quickly. And Devotion is at 3, so that's also relevant, but hopefully not deciding. 6 mana, could just cast Kermator's Acolyte and Voyaging Satyr, preparing for a big next turn. That seems pretty sweet. And then I should probably attack with the 2 Satyrs, or maybe only with 1 Satyr. Yeah, I need to pressure my opponent now that Perforos is on the board. Now, if he top decks a double red card, I'm in trouble. But I still have Keepsake Gorgon, so there isn't too many attacks that my opponent can profitably make. This Crown Crusader is really scary. I want to bestow Nylea's Emissary on Keepsake Gorgon because that just seems like a very good way to win the game. And the Satyr and the Acolyte are good blockers, so I think dealing 4 here is something I can definitely afford to do. I can always jump block the Perforos, and if my opponent wants to activate Perforos twice, that allows me to get rid of the red Devotion, so I'm actually really happy if that's the case. Alright, opponent drew a red card, which is pretty much the worst case here. Could have protected Xenagos from that, but I didn't think that was what would be important in this game. So now the Devotion Cone is on 2. I could just Monstrous this or hold up Monstrous, but I want to get in damage again. So Monstrifying this, then the question is with which creatures to attack, because the Satyr is the Voyaging Satyr is tapped. Maybe just the 2 Satyrs again. It seems like a nice play. With the 2 blockers, an attack by everything is still highly suicidal by my opponent, and I deal quite a bit of damage. I'm gonna do it right now just to clear the way. Killing the Ill-Tempered Cyclops also removes a Devotion, so that's definitely a key play. depending on what my opponent does next turn, I'm gonna try to put Nylea's Emissary and Leaf Crown Dryad on Keepsake Gorgon, making it an 8-power trampling Death Touch creature, so it's going to be really difficult for my opponent to stay alive. The way Death Touch and Trample works together is that I'm gonna assign 1 damage to each blocker, so everything else gets through, and then I will still have the satyrs and everything coming through potentially. Alright, that now changed. I'll have to do the math. Alright, Read the Bones doesn't look like a card I really need here. The Acolyte makes 2 mana, so that gives me 8. If I play Nylea's Emissary first, I have 9 mana effectively, lacking 1 to actually bestow the Leaf Crown Dryad. But if I'm willing to tap Voyaging Satyr, then it's 6, 7, 8, 9, so that's 10, and then I have this at 8 power and trampling, so it has to be blocked by at least 2 creatures. Doesn't really matter which one, so it could just be the 2/1/1s. And then my opponent needs to block both satyrs, which he could do with blocking with Staunch-Hearted Warrior and Ill-Tempered Cyclops. So the Cyclops actually gets to kill a satyr for free if I attack with them. It still makes sense to make the Gorgon as large as possible. And then I'm probably just holding back the satyrs, because I don't see that attack doing much. I can still do that attack next turn, and holding this back means I have more chump blockers should I need them. So let's start with this. And then bestow this. Now my devotion is 3, 4, 5, 6. So I can also bestow this onto this. Now I've built... Oh, interesting. Well, could have at least waited for me to attack, because this isn't a lethal attack. But of course it does force 2 blockers, so maybe the Staunch-Hearted Warrior and the Priest. And then my opponent isn't going to hit Devotion in the next draw step, opts to just concede the game here. We made it through round 1. Let's see if that trend continues.